Welcome to another episode of Dear Stefan.
Dear Stefan, what's the minimum ad spend you'd suggest having to test if an ad works or not?
Usually I like to see at least a few $1,000s put into a campaign. Somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 is ideal for you to really know if something is going to work or not. When you start to spend too little or you spend it across too much, and you start splintering that spend across too broad of a test, you can find yourself with some false negatives and some false positives because you really don't have enough data to tell you what's actually working. So on an ad level, if you're talking about the specific ad, the image, the copy, or the video, the targeting, that granular, a matter of a few $100s, $500 would be enough to start to give you some sense of whether or not it's performing. Of course, there's a lot of variables here. If your product is $3,000 mattress, then spending $500 is not going to tell you enough of whether or not that's going to work. You wouldn't even probably have spent enough to acquire one customer, let alone be able to tell if it's going to scale or not. And so maybe a better way to really kind of go about the math is to take the cost of your estimated acquisition, let's say that it's a 1-to-1, and then probably multiply that by 5 or 10. And if you're not seeing a couple of conversions come through at that level, it probably starts to give you an indicator that that may or may not be the winning campaign. There are campaigns that can look like dogs initially, and you're just like throwing the towel on that. But when in reality, if you had stayed the course, they could become massively profitable. A good example of that is our campaign that we did with Transparent Labs 3 years ago. When we started with that campaign, the ad performance for the first 2 months was okay at best. It wasn't anything to like have major concern and like turn it off, but there was definitely days where like, what are we doing wrong? And then that campaign, because we stayed the course and continued to optimize and tweak the audiences and who we were delivering it to, because we stayed the course, that single asset ended up driving almost $20 million in revenue. Be sensitive before you throw something out. If this ad is getting the best click-through rate of anything you've ever seen, there's probably something else going on. So I wouldn't throw it out immediately. Trust your gut on that a little bit too. If there are some indicators that are prodding you towards keeping it running, then I'd recommend doing that. A lot of times you can see that turn as you continue to optimize. You can see that turn and start to become a really profitable campaign. Thank you so much for your letter. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer it, or not, depending on how I feel. Thanks for watching. Dear Stefan.